The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Wednesday, the second day of April 2025. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. I'm Jamal Hartman, and Teo Dill will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in the news break brought to you by People's. All right, folks, happy middle of the traditional work week, hump day, some of you call it. How's everyone feeling today? I mean, you're almost there. Well, when I say almost there, you're almost to the middle of, well, you're at the middle of the week. You're almost to the end of another traditional work week. How's everybody feeling about that? Are you good? Do you feel like you've made progress? Have you been productive? Have you had a peaceful week? Have you had an enjoyable week? Do you like what you do for a living a bit more? Let us know. How are you feeling? How are you feeling? I'm feeling good because, you all are here with us, and I'm back to do this with you again. So always a pleasure to wake up and have the opportunity to engage with every last one of you, especially about important topics. So greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome Denise Carey on from home. We're tackling homelessness today. So really looking forward to this conversation, some disturbing numbers that were shared at the beginning of this calendar year regarding the 2024 annual report from home. So looking forward to all of us as a community, having this most important conversation to address it head on. The daily play is music today. So you all will be guessing what lyrics, what song and artist do these lyrics belong to? Yeah, that's what we'll be doing. Don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, let's get to the question this morning. We've got Suzanne Ingham says, awesome win Wednesday, Jamal and Teo. It's wet out there. At least the thunder and lightning has stopped. Yeah, there was so many Bermudians up very early this morning. Was it the thunder? Because I woke up. And before a brother goes to the gym, he has to, scroll a bit. And I saw all of you talking about this thunder this morning. So hopefully everybody made out okay. Kenton Trott says, good morning, TDH family, and a good morning to you, good brother. And folks, yeah, we've got a question. It's the daily discussion brought to you by our friends at Titan Express and Secure Tracking. The question of the morning, as I stated, because of people like a Kenton and Amari and the number of, so many young Bermudians who are interested in everyday politics now, which is not a bad thing, But I did, as I said on Monday, I tuned into the House of Assembly on Friday and listened to, for the most part, the late afternoon into the evening. And as I said on Monday, is I can appreciate, the maiden speeches by both MP Linda Smith and MP Robin Talker. Such grace. They speak very well. It was not much emotion, but it was just, it felt very human hearing them speak. But every time during the motion to adjourn, whether it was MP Fogo, MP Kim Swan, MP Daryl, it was just, there were so many. When you heard the PLP MPs speak, it was almost like whoever spoke from the OBA did not know how to respond, right? And as you all probably know, the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party in opposition is probably a case study around the world in how to be like the Democrats right now who continue to falter and lose support. I mean, they are crumbling, right? Which is unbelievable based on the presidency that the US currently has. But the Democrats can learn a lot from the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party and how to be in opposition. In saying that, so could the One Bermuda Alliance, because they just don't know how to respond. I don't know if it's a marketing thing. I don't know if it's a PR thing. I don't know if it's a personality thing. But what we're going to try to figure out this morning, because this is not about the OBA or PLP, this is about Bermuda. The question of the morning is, what advice would you give to the One Bermuda Alliance to be a more effective opposition? What advice would you give to the One Bermuda Alliance to be a more effective opposition? Some people were saying, oh, well, with this raise in pay, maybe the OBA should all vote against it. Well, it doesn't matter whether they all vote against it or not, because the PLP has numbers, right? I mean, it's going to happen. However, if you really believe it, that you shouldn't get this rise in pay, well, I'm not really out here trying to sell anybody or advocate for any particular charity, but I'm going to use Home since they're here. Why don't you say with that extra pay that you get, since you don't believe you deserve it or you should have it or whatnot, give it to Home? You get what I'm saying? So, question of the morning, what advice would you give to the One Bermuda Alliance to be a more effective opposition? Like, what would you say to them to be more effective for the benefit of Bermudians? What would you say to Jerry and Richardson and Ben Smith and Linda Smith and Dwayne Robinson and Scott Pierman and Michael Fay, Robin Tucker? What would you say to them for them to be more effective as an opposition? But also, here's a question: yes or no? Do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? And we'll share the QR code, because I know some people don't, you have jobs and you don't want to offend people. That's the QR code, right? And I'll share the link in the comments. Do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? Do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? Yes or no? Do you trust them to be an effective opposition? Yes or no? All right. You can, again, if you want to remain anonymous, you can answer that on the link or use the QR code. But do you believe or do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? All right. All right. Let's get to the audience. Again, audience, what advice, like what would you say? What advice would you give to the One Bermuda Alliance to be a more effective opposition? Because again, Bermudians, we need proper governance. Proper governance requires accountability. Accountability requires a strong opposition, not just to go against the government on everything. I mean, props to Dwayne Robinson, who, when he spoke on the motion during the motion to adjourn on Friday, he gave credit. Like I think I've really admired the way he conducts himself. He seems very genuine, right? And he seems like he really does mean well and wants what's best. But how even can he be more effective? What advice would you give them? Again, is it a marketing thing? Is it a PR thing? Is it a personality thing? What would you say to the One Bermuda Alliance, especially if you thought that the Bermuda Progressive Labor Party is the best opposition we've ever seen? All right. We did ask also, yes or no, do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? And Jody Zool says no. Says no. Renee Simmons says no. Okay. So we've got two no's that are live. Anyone else? Do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? Do you trust them to be an effective opposition? Yes or no? Do you trust them to be an effective opposition? All right. So, oops. I think we have a boo-boo, everybody. Let's see. I put the QR code up and my apologies. I put the QR code up and we don't even have the question set, do we? Let me do that again. Sorry, everybody, you all didn't tell me. You did not tell me. Let's get the right question up so that we can ensure. All right, here we go. Do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? There you go. All right. You can click the link or use the QR code now. But let's go to the audience, see what you all are thinking. Charles H. Jeffers II says, I believe that the best thing for the OBA would be to disband. When the BDA merged with the UBP, they took on more than their members, but also their legacy. They will never be able to escape that. Charles, I agree. I agree with you. And while the OBA has some, fantastic candidates and fantastic MPs and senators, they have great people. I just don't think you'll be able to shake it. And as I listened to the House of Assembly on Friday, as I said it, they just don't know how to respond when the PLP brings up anything related to race. They don't know how to respond. And that they can't avoid it. Now, keep in mind, off the top of my head, the only non-Black MPs in the One Bermuda Alliance are Michael Fay, Douglas DeCudo, Linda Smith, and Scott Pierman. But you can have all Black people in the One Bermuda Alliance. I think they'll still tie it. That's why it was an easy target. Remember the language that the premier used when they called the election, speaking about the OBA elite, right? They cannot shake it. So to be more effective, Charles may be right. They may have to disband. But when they disband, what happens to those members of the One Bermuda Alliance? Are they not going to carry that with them? Do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? Jonathan says no. Okay. Kenton Trott says the current government understands grassroots politics. The opposition would need to find a way to counteract that. Yeah. They have no response to it. So again, but is it a marketing thing? Is it a PR thing? Is it a personality thing? Or is it just a legacy thing? Because at present, how do they shape the argument? How do they change people's perspectives? Again, as I listen to the House, and this is not to be disrespectful to One Bermuda Alliance MPs, because again, I quite appreciated what they had to say on Friday. But it's really hard when they have no response. When the PLP start talking, they have no response. And that to me is not in the best interest of Bermudians. So we've got to figure it out. WKD Lama says, no, they are not effective. They disbanded before and we ended up with the BDA, then OBA. Well, I think what Charles is saying is when they disbanded before, the BDA should have never merged with the remaining UBP members. They should have never did that thing. They should have waited it out. And I think what he's saying I agree with, because they were going for instant gratification, which okay. You know what the OBA reminds me of? It reminds me of Democrats and Joe Biden, right? So you wanted to get rid of Trump so bad at the time that here we are 4 years later, back with him. The One Bermuda Alliance, the BDA lot, wanted to get rid of the PLP so badly at the time that here we were 5 years later, PLP, and probably never going to get another chance because you wanted instant gratification and decided to merge. With the Democrats, you went with an old white guy who's so out of touch, and that led you right back to Donald Trump. I mean, it takes a lot to actually self-reflect and understand what you did, but you went for the short game, right? I think that's similar to what happened with the BDA at the time. But again, audience, what do you think? Again, yes or no? Do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? Yes or no? Do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? Also, What advice would you give to the One Bermuda Alliance to be a more effective opposition? Like, what advice would you give to them? What would you say to them to say, you know what? Look, you guys are not holding the PLP accountable enough. This is what I would like to see. This is what I like. Is it a personality thing? Like, there are certain people who engage better. Like, say what you want about the PLP, but to use Kenton's term, grassroots, they engage people where they are. Their candidates have that personality to go out and be among the people. Like, it pisses us off. You know, people look what with the, you know, I've seen the comments, I've read the comments, right? The state of the country. But yeah, Bermuda Day Cup Match County game while drinking and partying with these MPs. Right? Well, that's politics. The PLP play it very well. Does the One Bermuda Alliance need to adopt that? Right? So I don't have the answers, folks. I don't know. But it seems like, and this is not, I'm not taking a shot at anyone in particular, but it seems like the One Bermuda Alliance, in my personal and most humble opinion, lack the personality to truly be a great opposition. I think they lack the personality. I think they lack the PR, right? They have to take certain issues head on. Don't allow the PLP government to lead the conversation anymore. And that's going to take courage. That's going to take creativity. From a marketing perspective, maybe relook and revisit and review how you go about doing that. But I think that all of those areas, you know, Wanae Crockle said it on this show Monday, the PLP is a well-oiled machine. It's a machine. This is 2025. On their worst day, they still came out on top by a large margin. I'm going to liken it to football, right? So in 2020, they gave the OBA a six-pack, right? 6-0. We call it a six-pack in football. 2025, it was pretty much 5-1 instead of a six-pack. Now, the OBA would tell you that's an improvement. We're making inroads. The PLP saying, man, we didn't get a shutout. But hey, we still got more goals than we've ever gotten before. Despite not playing well, they still won by a great score. That's what it's like to me. The One Bermuda Alliance needs to find a way to challenge, to hold accountable, and to be a strong opposition, not just for themselves, but for the benefit of the country. It's not going to happen by holding these clinics in your constituency. You need to be among the people. You need to improve your marketing, your PR. You need to do things differently. It's not working right now. And it's not that it's not working because you're horrible people or bad candidates or you don't possess the political know-how. It's not working because, frankly, I think some of you are scared. Let's go back to the audience. What advice would you give to the One Bermuda Alliance to be a more effective opposition? We've got Charles H. Jefferson II says, if their current members join the party like the FDM, they might be able to shake it. For the record, I don't think this will ever happen. Okay. Well, I think, as one of our TDH colleagues said, the FDM seems more connected and a bigger threat to the PLP, despite not winning any seats. And, you know, I did ask Dwayne Robinson that, and it's like, well, you know, we got more seats than we did last time. That's short-term thinking, in my opinion. All right. Do you trust the OBA to be an effective opposition? Sean Smith says, not with the current leadership. Nicole Walker says, not at this time, and not sure I'm ready to write them off completely, but understand Charles's point. Okay. WKD Lama says, OBA don't seem to have solutions and are disorganized. Some of their candidates were bad. Okay. Well, I think there were bad candidates on both sides, and I think they had very good candidates on both sides. But I take your point that it does come across like that. So what do we fix? What do we fix? Renee Simmons says the OBA should push for more transparency to the public. I believe if the House of Assembly was open to the public, whereby we, the people, can actually witness and hold these MPs accountable ourselves, will help. But what do you mean open to the public? You mean more than just listening online or listening on the radio? Because it is technically open to the public. It is. Now, being open to the public and being accessible are two different things. Like, is it easily accessible? Probably not as much as it could be. Rashida Godwin says, they need some history lessons, and you can't put lipstick on a pig and make cosmetic changes to disguise its true nature. The Bermuda public don't trust them. I think that's it right there. You know, to quote the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, like, you can't put lipsticks on a pig, but you can't ignore it either, Rashida. Like, again, listening to the House of Assembly, they don't know how to respond when the PLP, and the PLP, let me be very clear, because I don't want to make it seem like, oh, the PLP do in the House is, oh, black this, black that. No, they don't. What they do is tie a lot of the legislation and policies that they try to push forward. They actually always tie it to some historical thing that happened, right? And the OBA never seems to know how to respond to that. And that's why I would encourage people to actually listen to the House. I mean, it's tough. Trust me. That's my first time listening in years. It's tough. It is. I told you already, I don't have the temperament to ever get into politics. Yeah, I'd probably throw something across the floor. That's just, yeah, I'm a changed person. Therapy's helped, actually. And if Teo can do it, well, never mind. I can't do it if Teo can do it. That's another level. But Sean Smith says, the OBA needs to take a page from the movie 8 Mile and speak about their faults, which will remove the argument from Teo. That's an example I use all the time. Is sometimes you have to share your shortcomings before the others can use them against you, and speak to it. You know, from a PR perspective, speak to, you know what, historically we are tied to a legacy that has not always been seen as the best for all people in Bermuda, and like, just take it head on, but lead the argument, right? Renee Simmons says, yes, viewing their conduct while in the House of Assembly, too much bickering back and forth going on instead of getting on with the business process. Indeed, I got you. All right. We're going to bring Teo in a bit, but this is your daily discussion brought to you by Titan Express and Secure Trucking. Folks, don't forget, we've got Denise Carey coming up, the CEO of Home. You don't want to miss that after the news break.
The daily discussion is brought to you by Titan Express and Secure. Visit TitanEXBDA.com, your leading tour and transport provider specializing in Black History tours throughout the island. And SecureBDA.com for all your property management, waste management, residential, and commercial trucking needs. Professional, punctual, and reliable service is our commitment to you.
All righty. If you've appreciated the discussion this morning, you know what to do, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, X, or Instagram. Make sure you give us a like, love, follow, share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. Subscribe if you're on the YouTube with us. Yeah, I said too, Teo. All right, let's bring Teo Dillon for the Daily Hour News Break, brought to you by Peoples.
Morning, Jay. Morning, fam. And as of today, People's Victoria Street is open 1 hour longer a day, which is always good news for everybody that patronizes that wonderful establishment. I am going to be marginally annoyed at you in perpetuity until you stop saying tube. I'm just saying, stop it.
I thought, you know what? I caught myself. I was like, I said YouTube first, then I just said tube, and Taylor's going to give it to me. You know, Tay?
Yeah, man. I'm
going to write it down. I'm going to write it down. You
need to tattoo it on your forearm, like right here, so you can just glance and look and be straight type thing.
All right, Jay, stop acting Taylor's age and act your age. All right, Jamal? Okay.
Yeah. All right, you know what? You win. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, I got to ask you, though, honestly, think about this. I know you probably just don't have the capacity because you got some babies. You know what I'm saying? You don't have time to listen to House all the time. But you know what an effective opposition is. You remember the days of the late Freddie Wade and Dame Jennifer. Like, you know what an effective opposition is. Audible Simmons and the like when we were young.
Well, I have an interesting thinking about this. I cannot prove it. So please don't take this as gospel. This is just my perspective.
Mhm.
I think one of the more interesting but misunderstood issues affecting our overall national political reality is that the folks that participate in and support the OBA, what is fair to say used to be the UBP,
Mhm.
particularly considering the current makeup of the House,
Mhm.
they think of themselves as the natural party of government,
Mm.
which is to say they're not good
Mm.
at operating from a position of opposition, right? I mean, just how they think of the job of being a parliamentarian.
Uh-huh.
Now, the other side to that, and this is something that the Progressive Labor Party, I think, in many ways continues to struggle with, despite being, in practical terms, the natural party of government in the 21st century,
Mhm.
it still operates like a natural opposition. That is to say, folks who are there to challenge power rather than to exercise power.
Mm.
And I think if you listen to both sides of this discourse with that in mind, it explains a lot in a way that may be hard to understand without that framing.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I get, you know what, and that's something I forgot to mention, that in holding the OBA being a more effective opposition, one thing I failed to recognize is the fact that sometimes the PLP government acts like they're the opposition.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, because I mean, that is the sort of baked into the identity of the party. That is to say,
Yeah.
representing the workers' movement, folks that are inherently lower down on the power hierarchy than the folks above it, the capital owners, etc. And if you think about your role in any kind of public activity in that way, it's
Mhm.
going to shape your language, your priorities, the way that you approach everything. And I think that's a big part of it. Like the OBA just doesn't think that they're supposed to be the opposition.
Yeah.
Like it's unnatural fit type thing.
It's almost an entitlement. Like we rock and roll like we're the government because that's just what we were created to do. And the PLP, we rock and roll like what the opposition because that's what we were created to do.
Right. Yeah. And those are really, really hard identity characteristics to crack
This
because
conversation-
they're not new, right? Like these are the things that go back centuries, like generational conclusions type thing.
we've got to continue this conversation. This is deeper than I was discussing. It's deeper. It's deeper because I think you just said it. This goes back centuries. Like this goes back to like a failing to evolve our mindset as times change. Like it reminds me of that. I call it the march to nowhere, where at the end of that march, the George Floyd march they had in Bermuda, like you've got people like MPs and government ministers standing up speaking out. Hold on, but you're the ones charged with changing laws in Bermuda. So why are you speaking up against yourself?
Yeah. Only if you think of yourself in that way.
But they don't think of themselves as the people in. Taylor, man,
no, but let me put it to you, like, and because I don't want this really to be a critique of either side, because this is stuff that is like subconscious, right? Like it's beneath the level of active thinking. Let's say, Jay, you, right, with your life history, your experiences, just you, like the full comprehensive you. If by some circumstance you ended up being the premier of Bermuda. No, I'm being real now. And somebody asked you after you've served in that role for a term, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the top 3 characteristics through which you define yourself? Do you think like being the leader of a government would be anywhere close to the top 3?
Nah.
You'd say, I'm a man, I'm Bermudian, I'm black, or in some order, right? Yeah. Maybe a son, a brother, like all of them things. Then way, maybe like 12th on the list, I also happen to be the premier of the country, right? And so that means all those other identity things are going to define what you say, what you see, what you do way before you run it through that filter. And I'm saying everybody in these parliamentary spaces has that same list. Almost none of them on the PLP side, I'd be willing to bet, think of themselves in that way. And on the other side, I would think some of them, like that hierarchy is just different.
Audience. What are your thoughts on what we're saying, audience? Like, do you get it? Like, because again, the conversation is so much deeper. We got to go tape, but let's continue this because we got Miss Carey waiting on us.
Yes, of course. I want to make as much space for Miss Carey. I apologize, ma'am. Now, this is a bit of a roller coaster of a story today. If we make the right decisions, Bermuda could become the first blue zone island in the Atlantic Ocean. This is the key message coming from CG and Zest Wellness's recent event focused on how to make this happen. Now, you might be thinking blue zones is something to do with the ocean or marine environmental health. Not exactly, but kind of, sort of. Blue zones are regions where people live exceptionally long and healthy lives, as in they're 10 times more likely to make it to 100 years old and beyond than folks in the rest of the world. Early research indicates, this is the key, that genetics probably only account for 20 to 30% of longevity. So most of the success at extending folks' lives comes down to external factors, environmental influences like diet, lifestyle. These include strong social connections, regular physical activity, policies that support well-being, and plant-centric diets. Now, to really lay it out, here's a small excerpt from a recent documentary on Icaria. It's a tiny island in the Aegean Sea off the coast of Greece, one of the first ever blue zones identified, where people are more likely to end up living beyond 100 years old than anywhere else on the planet. And this explains exactly what life is like in this place and what may be the reason, at least one of the reasons, why Icarian folks live so long compared to the rest.
The Icarian diet starts with lots of vegetables and seafood, all sourced locally. Copious amounts of olive oil is used to cook everything. And every meal comes with at least a couple glasses of local wine.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how you eat every day in Icaria.
More.
Where is that?
Icaria. It's a small island off the coast of Greece. And as you could see in that excerpt, it's not like these people are living monastic lifestyles. Like they like a little wine every day. They eat the fish, they do their work, and they're more likely to make it to a century than anywhere else on the planet. So I hope that we understand better now what the goal looks like, what being a blue zone country looks like. So I figured, after learning about this a bit more, it'd be worth checking out how close we are here in Bermuda to getting to a space where folks live longer. And that big part of that includes avoiding lifestyle diseases. And it turns out we have got a good ways to go. According to some published peer-reviewed medical research, our incidence of diabetes is, well, not great. People here are more likely to be diabetic than other comparable countries around the developed world. In fact, women are more likely to have their limbs amputated due to diabetes than any other country on the planet, while local men have the second highest rate, which is horrifying. Now, the cancer results, on the other hand, are pretty interesting because based on some more published research, our rate of cancer is pretty comparable to the US, which isn't necessarily something to celebrate, but it indicates things could definitely be worse. However, there's a racial reality to cancer in Bermuda that we may not be all that familiar with. White folks here, particularly white women, are more likely to get cancer, in some cases in a really significant way than black folks, particularly when it comes to colorectal cancer for reasons that researchers haven't been able to explain just yet. This is the kicker. Yeah, I know. This is the kicker, though. According to this paper, and you just saw that in the last slide, cancer mortality isn't tracked here with the same rigor as the U.S. So even though we know white folks are broadly more likely to get cancer, we don't know if they're more likely to die as a result of cancer, which raises questions about access to preventative, access to treatment and the socioeconomic conditions associated with that access, right? Does that surprise you at all?
It did surprise me just now when I saw that white women were more likely to have colorectal cancer, or I think I saw white people.
Yeah, white women, yeah.
It was white women, okay. And then, but the point is that you brought up that I hope it doesn't miss anyone about the mortality rates. Like, we need that data because that will give us an idea about, the healthcare system, like access to healthcare and the like. Like, are we dying because we don't have, as a race of people, the same access as others? No, we need that.
Or at least that'd be one of the factors, right? And that's why I think the most significant component of the national healthcare reform push is this deeper data gathering. Yeah. Now it is at I think bottom, like the absence of effective national statistics gathering. It's the source, or you can relate it to almost every problem that we've got. Like we just don't know enough about ourselves on a day-to-day, really incremental, granular level to understand what the problems are enough to build solutions. But anyway, not to change the subject. So I don't want to freak you out about the possibilities of what could happen if we don't go the blue zone route. But I just want to tell you the truth, which includes learning about the most obese country on the planet. And it could tell us a story about what could be coming our way. Now, have a guess what the most obese country on the planet is.
The United States of America.
No, sir. Not even close. It's a place called Nauru. The tiny, largely self-sufficient Pacific island was essentially turned into a gigantic strip mine about 100 years ago, since there was a lot of phosphate, one of the best fertilizers available in the soil. However, extracting all the phosphate from the soil meant that local farming was basically broken forever. Now, this industrial success meant there was plenty of money floating around for a couple generations in the local economy, so they could afford to transition to importing nearly 100% of their food supply. Now, try not to think about Bermuda and say golf courses here, right? Anyway, this meant their diets and lifestyles completely changed and severely degraded their health.
They even need to import their drinking water thanks to runoff from the mining sites, contaminating all the fresh water on the island. Now most of their water is shipped in on a tanker from Australia, making it cheaper to buy soda in Nauru than drinking water. And this is where the nutrition transition issue on Nauru starts to unfold. The term nutrition transition is defined as the transition of developing countries from their traditional nutrient-rich diet to a Western diet and overall way of life. Thanks to contamination, the Nauruan staple of freshly caught fish has been replaced with canned tuna and Spam. Their traditional carbs of coconut, breadfruit, pineapple, and many other once abundant natural fruits have taken a backseat to white rice, instant noodles, sugar, chocolate chips, candies, and beer.
Yikes.
Now, what does that sound like, though?
Because we import most of our stuff, and
when you go into local grocery stores,
yeah, that's what
you see, right? Now, just to freak you out a little bit more, this is the part that genuinely made me upset, confused, and angry for a while. There were a few decades in the mid-20th century when Nauru was one of the wealthiest countries on earth. They had a GDP 3 times higher than the U.S. post the World War II economic boom, due to all that phosphate mining we mentioned. However, when the phosphate ran out, the land was ruined, so no farming, no viable spaces for tourism development, no other economic pillar, and they've been very poor and very unhealthy ever since.
I feel like Teo's trying to tell us something here, Bermuda. I feel like you are you with Teo this morning, audience? Do you see what he's kind of saying?
Just asking questions.
He's just asking questions. Teo, you've given us in 10 minutes, you've given us so much to think about overnight.
That was the goal. So I'm grateful. Now, weather-wise, last night's rain and wind, as you can see and feel, it's wrapping itself up. It should be all gone by the time we hit lunchtime today due to the quick arrival and departure of a small cold front. High pressure will keep skies bright and clear from today through the rest of the week with typical air temps in the low 70s, mid 60s. So hooray, clear skies until Friday, at least.
All righty, Tay. Well, there's quite a few days. There is, you've got, this is probably your favorite. You started reading at freaking 6 months. So International Children's Book Day.
I mean, that is a very good day. That is a very good day.
We've got National Ferret Day. We've got Do It Yourself Day, DIY Day. National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day. Professional Appreciation Day. Walking Day. National Day of Hope. It is National Reconciliation Day. Don't Walk Your Dog Day. International Fact-Checking Day. Ride Your Horse to a Bar Day. Love Your Produce Manager Day. Employee Benefits Day. World Autism Awareness Day. Which one should we go with?
Well, I mean, there were a lot of really good options and some less so, but I think Do It Yourself Day is a good, like just try not to put off that task that you've been avoiding because it's not necessarily so comfortable, not in a life-changing way, but just like something you could do, but you don't feel like it. Because I have found that 80+% of the time when I do those kinds of tasks, I end up learning that I could do these things more like close to all the time. So just be a little uncomfortable, give it a shot, and you'll probably realize you had no reason to be that uncomfortable in the first place.
Got to ask the audience, what is a do-it-yourself task that you've done? Now, I'm going to be real with you. Tail, you know this. I'm not technologically inclined despite going to technical schools, quite a few of them. But I am very proud of myself, the way I built my studio and put things together and all the wires. I remember where they go, right? Do it yourself. Trust me, folks. Normally, if you know me, 15 years ago, I'd have had somebody come help me do this and do that. I'm putting together my desk and stuff. Yeah, I'm that. I've done it all. So
props to
it's actually fulfilling.
Man.
It's very fulfilling. So, and I appreciate the BAC group coming on and teaching people how to do it themselves too. So we got to go, but you have a wonderful day. You're going to have me thinking during my conversation with Denise, man.
No, I'm grateful, man. That's always the goal. I'll see you in a couple of days. All
right, have a good one. Tail deal, folks. Folks, if you appreciated the conversation, news break so far, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We have a very important conversation with Denise Carey coming up in about 3 minutes, 54 seconds. Stick with us.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Hi there, welcome to Medical House. We're located at number 6 Bakery Lane. I can't wait to show you all of the great stuff that we carry. Come on inside, let's see. Long days, long shifts, you no longer have to endure comfortable underwear. Designed by nurses, we now offer premium undergarments by Swoop that are unique, fun, comfortable, and functional. The only underwear you'll ever want to wear. Who says high-quality functional products can't be stylish and comfortable at the same time?
See it all at our new expanded location on Bakery Lane.
Attention home renovators and design lovers. Your dream space starts here. The brand new Kohler retail showroom at BAC Group is now open, bringing you up to 35% savings on all Kohler products at U.S. manufacturer suggested retail prices. That means no extra fees, no freight, no wharfage, no duty, no document processing fees. Just pure cutting-edge Kohler design at unbeatable value. From sleek kitchen and bathroom faucets, vanities, toilets, to statement sinks, walking tubs, and spa-worthy bathtubs, BAC brings innovation and luxury within reach. Visit the BAC showroom on Mill Creek Road today for style, quality, no surprises. Just color from BAC.
Discover Drop It, your go-to grocery delivery. Browse and select from a wide range of groceries, from fresh produce to daily essentials. Our friendly drivers deliver fresh groceries to your door fast, saving you time and hassle. With Drop It, you get fresh groceries delivered fast so you can focus on what really matters. Drop It, freshness at your doorstep, delivered to your door with Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
April is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Children depend on every single caring adult in our community to make sure they are safe from sexual harm. Keeping them safe not just in April, but every day. Whether you're a parent, a guardian, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, or a caregiver, we ask that you take just 3 hours out of your busy schedule to learn what you can do to make sure the precious children in your life are protected. They are worth it. Join the SCARS certified adults by simply visiting our website to sign up for a free SCARS training session. Learn about online and body safety, how to protect them, and how to respond if they are harmed. This information is vital to their well-being and their future. Because they are children, it is our responsibility, Bermuda, to protect them. Visit scarsbermuda.com and learn what you can do to help the child in your life stay safe.
Join us as we celebrate 5 years and 1,000 plus episodes of community conversations on Bermuda's daily talk show. The Daily Hour Gala takes place on April 26th at LF Wade International Airport. For more information and advance tickets, please send an email to admin@bermudacommunications.com. We look forward to celebrating all that's great about our community with all of you.
All righty, welcome back to the big show. I'm Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by the BAC Group of Companies, Medical Wells, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. All right, without further ado, let's give a warm TDH welcome to our very special guest today. We've got Denise Carey coming on from home. We're going to be discussing what we can do to tackle homelessness in Bermuda. Let's give a warm TDH welcome. Hello, madam. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for your patience. Teo talks a lot, so I mean, kind of. Yeah, I was just listening. But no, before we jump into the meat of the conversation, thank you for the work that you do. And I really want to ask you, one of the things, it was all these different days just now, and Teo wanted to touch on Do It Yourself Day. Do you have something that you are proud that you've done yourself, like you've taught yourself?
I like to do everything myself. I like to try. I always like to try new things. So yeah, right now we're doing some mini renovations on one of our properties. And next week, we're going to all learn how to tile. So I am over the moon and cannot wait.
All right. Okay. Putting me to shame. Okay. I like to watch tiling get done, but okay. All right. Send us some video. We'd love to see it. But no, thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on. And thanks for engaging. And audience, if you have any questions or comments for Denise Carey, please send them through. We'll get through as many as possible. Before we get into the meat again, just give the audience a bit of background about Home and its purpose.
Okay, so Home was founded by our chair, Arthur Whiteman, and he has been a long-term resident in Bermuda, and he was very concerned and remains concerned about the homelessness situation in Bermuda. So from that, we registered almost 4 years ago, and we have a very committed board, and our mission is to end homelessness in Bermuda.
Okay, simply enough. And I think many would agree that this is something that we can all get behind. You mentioned homelessness in Bermuda and ending it, but one of the challenges, and as much as I read about what you all do, and you've been on before, different members of your team, I still don't quite think that Bermudians understand what homelessness is. I think many people just think it's someone sleeping on a sidewalk. Can you just define what homelessness actually is?
Yeah, we do not have a legal definition for homelessness in Bermuda. And for your audience, if we do not know what it is that we are trying to address, it's almost impossible to figure out how we are going to end it. So one of the first things Home worked on was defining what homelessness is. So we have adopted an ethos, which is a European typology on housing and housing exclusion, and it breaks it down into 13 subsections. So I will share what those subsections are, but I'll take it a step further and share the organizations that also provide support and the consequences of that subsection, because there is financial cost associated with not ending homelessness. So we have the rough sleepers, which traditionally people think of the guys down on Front Street or staying in the parks, but there is rough sleeping across the entire island, along the railway trails, behind bus terminals, bus stops, behind hedges. And that means that we have Salvation Army, we have all of the food feeding organizations. We have Bermuda Police that gets involved, sometimes corrections. We have City Hall that get involved. So there are a lot of agencies and a lot of dollars that we are investing by not addressing the rough sleeping. And in addition to that, because they're outside and they don't have access to regular medical care, that means they are accessing KMH only when it's an emergency, which is again a cost. And that also means that MWI will also come in to the spectrum of supporting the rough sleepers. So not ending homelessness is very expensive. Then we have the first step in, which is our night shelter at Salvation Army. Salvation Army has been super committed to providing that emergency shelter, but their responsibility didn't extend beyond the emergency shelter to support individuals in their transition into our community. That is our job. Then we have organizations like Bermuda Housing who introduce social housing. And that's another category of persons who move into temporary housing with it intended to be temporary, but they've stayed there for generations. And that too costs money because financial assistance gets involved, medical gets involved, and we continue to spend in places where we should be investing in prevention. Then we have individuals who are victims of domestic violence, and that traditionally tends to be women. But as years go on and the information is being extended, we are learning more that men too become victims of domestic violence. So we need to find housing for them. But beyond that, we have to find housing for the persons who are perpetrating. Then we have persons who are aging out of systems. So persons turning 18 who may not be able to continue living within their family, and they access DCFS or they're on foster care. And because of the level of competition out there currently to secure housing, they are being left out. Then we have our seniors who are on fixed income. And so when they turn 65, they cannot afford a rest home at a cost of $5,000 per month. And we have seniors who've been living overseas for a long period of time, even if it's a short period of time. When they are transitioning back to Bermuda, they may or may not know that they cannot access financial assistance until they've been in Bermuda for at least 365 days. Then we have the subpopulation who are transitioning out of institutions. We have persons who are coming out of Department of Corrections at a cost of housing them there for $110,000 per year. And once they're finished their sentence, there is no guaranteed housing for them to continue with the work that they have invested in themselves to reduce their risk of reoffending. Similarly, we have persons who are circling our city every single day, and they are navigating mental health. And when they finally get to a point where they're willing to go in and receive support from Mid-Atlantic Wellness Institute, again, they are faced with the same barrier of, at that point of discharge, there is no guaranteed housing for them. The last couple of weeks, I've seen our community have increased discussion about KEMH. This problem has been going on for a number of years where persons of no fixed abode move into KMH. They are living in KEMH at a cost of $1,000 per night. So per person, we are looking at over $30,000 per month. And again, it's we are paying for the consequence of not having affordable housing. We have persons who are living in derelict buildings throughout our community, no electricity, no running water. We have individuals living in cars. We have persons who are gainfully employed, but staying on our couch, staying in our spare room. That is not sustainable. That causes the breakdown in relationship. That causes families to fall apart because you said you were only going to be here for a couple of months. Then we have individuals who are being evicted through the courts. And we understand that landlords have obligations, tenants have obligations, but when the court issues that order, where are those people going? If Bermuda Housing is publicly saying we have a wait list of over 220 people, where are they going? And then finally, we have persons who are coming to Bermuda and they are non-Bermudian and they do not qualify for FA or Bermuda Housing, but they're here and they need to get fed 3 times a day and they need access to healthcare and food. Wow. So the problem is huge. However, what is super important and what I am most proud about our community is we have started to define it and have a better understanding of what it is. So we're getting closer to where we can now start putting things in place so that we can end homelessness permanently.
I mean, I think you answered a lot of questions that people may have had today. it's, I was volunteering at a homeless shelter in Rhode Island some years ago, and much of what you just said when I was, doing an orientation and understanding, they would always act like, people think most homeless people are just lazy and don't want to work. And so, they were like, no, one of the challenges there at the time was people aging out of the system, people trying to reintegrate into, maybe coming out of prison or something, trying to reintegrate into society. And some people just falling on hard times, right? So it's interesting to see that there are a lot of similarities with Bermuda. But with that said, just changing gears, your 2024 annual report shares that over 1,100 people are experiencing homelessness now in Bermuda. And I think you kind of just explained how we got here. Comparatively speaking, this is not a good number for Bermuda percentage-wise, right? So what is being done to address this, not just by whom, but the greater community in supporting your efforts?
Bermuda actually has one of the highest percentages of homelessness around the world. So what we are doing is we worked with our government, with Minister Tanay, the Ministry of Youth, Social Development and Seniors, to co-produce a plan to end homelessness. We have brought all of our community partners around the table to look at the gaps and identify how we can close those gaps. And it starts with the collection of data. So the government has sponsored licenses for us to utilize the same cloud-based case management system. That will ensure that we are able to identify one version of the truth, the exact number of persons who are homeless. We are working with the individual government agencies, the third sector organizations, to create a standalone piece of legislation so that we can have a legal defined subsections of homelessness. What we are recommending is that we introduce mandatory reporting so that organizations are obligated to respond when persons are reporting that they are threatened with or nearing homelessness. And within that, we are working to establish a duty of care so that persons who enter the system move throughout the system systemically, and that they are not moving into our emergency housing and they're living there for 10, 20 years. So that means that we need to create an inventory for housing so that we know exactly how many units are in our community, what the capacity is of those units, what work needs to be done to bring them online. That means that our focus should remain on introducing a minimum of 100 new units per year. That's not renovating old units and adding that as a count. It is literally 100 new units. And if we remain on this trajectory, that would mean over the next 10 years, homelessness will be ended permanently. But I will say that ending homelessness is not a point in time. It is going to require long-term commitment by not only our government, our international business community, our general members of the community, our donors, but then also a long-term commitment from those who are experiencing homelessness.
Yeah, and an audience, if you have any questions or comments, I'll get to your questions and comments. You can keep sending them through. But since you mentioned that, I mean, there are people in the community who are tuned in right now, and they're probably saying, well, what can I do? I'm here trying to make ends meet myself. But what can the community do to help with ending homelessness?
The immediate short answer is housing first. In order for us to end homelessness, we need to bring new units online. An immediate, if I were to say what to do today, it is, if you are a landlord, make sure that you have a lease, make sure you're aware of your obligations, communicate with your tenant. If you are a tenant, please make sure to hold your landlord accountable. Make sure you are paying your rent on time. Make sure you are taking care of your apartment. And that might seem simple and obvious, but that is how we reduce the numbers of persons being threatened with homelessness and reduce the likelihood that they are going to court. On a day-to-day, what we also need is for persons to reach out to him and provide opportunities. We need opportunities for housing, from a boarding house style to long-term rentals for studios and one-bedroom apartments. But we also need opportunities for employment. What we do not want to do is address one problem, that is housing, and create another problem, which is over-reliance on financial assistance. So we do need the opportunity to employ people with lived experiences and be patient, because again, it's not a point in time. It is a process that the entire community is going to need to commit to and understand that as we bring people in, that's going to mean that we need to work with them and provide the support that they need for as long as they need it.
Indeed. Thank you for that. Let's go to the audience. We've got quite a few questions here. Audience, if you have any more questions or comments, please send them through. Rashida Godwin says, seems to be more systemic than anything else. Is something wrong with the system as opposed to the people?
That is the best question I have had in the past 4 years. Thank you for asking that question. Homelessness is not a personal choice. Homelessness is a systemic failure of the community. And that is because part of it is we've all been scared. That's one piece. We didn't know what to do. We think that the problem is so big that we didn't know where to start. And in all fairness, homelessness competes with education, sports, services for seniors, healthcare, but there must be room for all of it. So it has been quite a journey, meeting one-on-one with every single one of the organizations that touch the populations for homelessness. And we are currently on a very good path with creating one front door. So you guys had the opportunity to give feedback on the plan to end homelessness. We are looking forward to the final plan being published in the next coming weeks. And with that, we will be introducing a microsite where the community will be able to go on. They'll be able to track our progress. They will know exactly who has ownership for the some 129 recommendations. And you will have greater opportunity to hold us accountable to deliver.
Indeed. Thank you for that. We've got Charles H. Jeffs II. He's asking, what percentage of our homeless population would Ms. Carey say are working homeless?
A larger subsection. I don't think I can give you the exact stat right now, but I will say Jamel hit the nail right on the head a few moments ago. I assumed coming into this space that there would be a low level of motivation and I would be spending considerable time trying to encourage people to work. That myth has been debunked 3.5 years ago. This population is very hungry. They are very eager to contribute to their housing, to employment. So there is actually a smaller population of persons who are capable of working, but not.
How can, there's a lot of people tuned in right now. How can they, I guess, not just volunteer their time and services, but get involved in ensuring that they're a part of the community that's working with you to eradicate homelessness? What can they do? How can they reach out and get involved?
Yeah, I would encourage you to come and visit home, see what it is that we're doing and how it is that we operate. I am confident that you will be pleasantly surprised with our approach to ending homelessness. We are an organization where we teach individuals how to do, and then we stand next to them to support them as they do it. When you come, you will get to meet our population, and from that, you will actually be able to tell us how you can contribute. So we are currently doing some minor renovations on one of our properties on Union Street. We need tradesmen who are willing and able to come to teach, to support, and then hopefully continue to work with some of these individuals. If you're willing to come in to volunteer, to assist with plumbing, electrical, carpentry, we would love to have you. I think that it is super important that we teach everyone who is experiencing homelessness how to manage on their own, and that starts with the relationships that they are able to build with members of our community.
Indeed, Denise, thank you so much for making time to have this most important conversation with us. Definitely want to make sure that we're keeping it front and center to highlight that we do have an issue, but also I don't believe in discussing things unless we're discussing solutions as well. So I think you've given the community a lot to think about this morning as to the role we each play in reversing this systemic problem that we have. And percentage-wise, it does not look good, and we have to ensure that everyone knows this. Homelessness doesn't discriminate. And I think that's another thing that people need to understand, right? So
we have from 18 right up to 70, 80-year-olds. Persons enter this space of homelessness at different ages in their lives, different levels of education, different levels of mental health. But what is most important is that everyone in our community has access to affordable housing. That is the number one priority.
Indeed. Denise, thank you so much. We'll definitely be in touch. Don't be a stranger. Keep us informed. Let us know what we can do on the platform, but have a wonderful day.
Thank you. And thank your viewers.
Thank you. Denise Carey, folks, if you appreciated the conversation and discussion, Home is doing the work out there. Make sure you give us a like, love, follow, share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. We'll take our final break. Be back in 2 minutes, 8 seconds to wrap it up. Stick with us.
Did you know 3 out of 4 people say that they have a good understanding of life insurance? But do they really? When asked how much the yearly cost would be for a 20-year, $250,000 level term life insurance policy for a healthy 30-year-old, 80% overestimated the cost by 5 times the amount. Ready for this? The true cost for that policy is about $220 a year. That's as little as 66 cents a day, or $20 a month. So let's put this into perspective. Compared to other monthly costs, isn't getting life insurance a no-brainer? If you can trim back on some of these expenses just a little bit, it will allow you to dedicate the savings toward an affordable life insurance policy. Contact one of our life insurance agents today to find the right policy for you.
BAC's new color showroom is now open. Throughout April, for every $50 spent, your name will be entered to win great raffle prizes. Come learn from BAC, where luxury meets affordability.
Looking for the best care for your pets? Novazok Feed and Supply has everything you need, from top quality foods to toys and supplies. We've got it all. Join our frequent buyer program and earn rewards every time you shop. Plus, we've been awarded the Clever Customer Initiative program for helping you save more. And don't forget, we open an hour early on Saturdays so you can get a head start on your pet care. Visit us today or shop online for easy pickup or delivery. Your pets will thank you.
Join us as we celebrate 5 years and 1,000 plus episodes of community conversations on Bermuda's daily talk show. The Daily Hour Gala takes place on April 26th at LF Wade International Airport. For more information and advance tickets, please send an email to admin@bermudacommunications.com. We look forward to celebrating all that's great about our community with all of you.
All right, welcome back, and thanks again to Denise Carey and Home for the work they continue to do and trusting this platform to engage all of us in what we believe is a very important community conversation. Thanks again to the BAC group of companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we can do this with you on a regular basis. Folks, if you haven't already, whatever platform you're on, please give us a like, love, follow, share the conversation with your friends, your family, your colleagues. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. All right. It's music today. And I think this song is, it aligns with today's discussion. Let us know the song and artists that these lyrics belong to. Quote, "Mother, mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying." All right. It's Marvin Gaye, but I'm going to take it as a typo. So yes, it is Marvin Gaye. What's the name of the song, though? I did ask the name of the song and the artist. What's the name of the song? WKD Lama also said Marvin Gaye. Oh, all right, Shigarena got it. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? Stacey Ann Brown, yes, What's Going On? Not Jimi Hendrix' cousin Mark. Yep, What's Going On? Marvin Gaye. Yep, I'm not going to sing for you today. Rondell Richardson also got it. Not going to sing for you. You all didn't pay for that. But let's wrap it up. Well, as far as the One Bermuda Alliance being more effective, I think there's so much to it. And I think Teo so eloquently put it that it's funny enough that PLP governs as if they're the opposition and the OBA opposes as if they're the government. It's quite crazy when you think about it, but that's the short end. I think both of them need to understand their roles. They need to understand their roles. And for the One Bermuda Alliance to be more effective, they have to face head on the challenges that they have. And the challenge that they have is responding to anything race-related or historical ties to the political entity that they were kind of born out of, right? They don't know how to shake it. Look at how Kim Swan responds to it. He will tell you, look, he owns it. He owns it. But he also speaks of his conversations over the years with the late Dame Lois Brown Evans. There have to be people in the OBA. I mean, Robin Tucker, MP Tucker, spoke of how her family was PLP. Like, utilize that. Speak to the people. The people have to see you as one of them. But you cannot ignore it. So I call on the One Bermuda Alliance to be strong in their response to that. Take a different approach. Revisit your strategists. But at the end of the day, Bermuda needs better from the opposition. Shucks, find somebody who worked with the PLP for those years they were in opposition. Learn from what Reverend Tweed and Jason Hayward and Chris Furbett did with the People's Campaign, even that short time as opposition. The OBA needs to do something differently for the benefit of Bermuda more than for the benefit of themselves. As far as the conversation with Denise Carey, it was very enlightening. A lot was said, and I hope that we were able to digest it. Percentage-wise, Bermuda has a crisis on its hands as it relates to homelessness. Something has to be done. Something more has to be done from more members of our community to fix it. So I don't know, folks. We have a problem. We have to find a way to address it, and hopefully soon, because as Ms. Carey said, it's not looking good. I'm trying to find you this quote. It's by Nelson Mandela, I think. Yeah, here it is. Here's your daily inspiration. Here's your quote. It says, poverty is a result of human actions and choices, not fate, and therefore can be eradicated through collective effort and justice. Poverty is not an accident, folks, nor is homelessness. Homelessness really is what defines our community, right? How the most vulnerable live and are treated. That's what defines us, not our GDP and how the best economically are living, but how those who so-called are at the bottom. That's what defines us. That's the story in who we are. All right, it's time to let you all go. Folks, hey, just letting you know, there's a few tickets left, so if you haven't gotten yours already, make sure you get your tickets to the gala. We're very excited. We had a call yesterday. It's going to be an exciting gala. It's going to be very exciting. We have a great panel with Jonathan Halls, who is the CEO of Bermuda Press Holdings, the parent company of the Royal Gazette. We have Jasmine Patterson, news anchor and deputy news director at Bermuda Broadcasting. We have Trevor Lindsay, who is the head at TNN. And we also have Christy Mustang Joseph, who's on Power 95 radio personality, who will be on the panel at the gala. We'll be honoring lifetime achievement and contribution to media, Glenn Blakeney. So it's going to be a really, really cool night celebration of 5 years, 1,000+ episodes of the Daily Hour, and really honoring those who have contributed so much to the media space. All right, folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website. Follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, the BAC Group of Companies, Medical House, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. I'm Jamal Hartman. Please do make it a safe and a great day. We are out. Peace.